they went to the queen to tell her her subjects had no bread. Do you know what she said?
Let them eat cake.
Here, take the bomb.
We're getting screwed, man. Every time we turn around, we're getting screwed. Oh, the revolution's going to be through podcasting for sure. That's the only way we talk. It's the little guys that take the brunt of everything. It's got to stop. Peasants, man. We're just peasants. Every one of us. You watch those old movies, you see the peasants in the background with the kings and queens walking around. We're those people. We're those people. Good morning, peasants. Welcome to another episode of The Peasant's Perspective. I am caffeinated, fired up. My heart has been racing ever since yesterday. This is a massive show today. So call your friends, call your wives. We've been talking about everything up in here today, okay? This is going to be a big show. I had to cut stuff out of the show that normally would be like a third of the show, okay? Yesterday was a monster day. Monster day. So much stuff. Unbelievable stuff. I'm even gonna go back and listen to this episode. It's so good. And I haven't even done it yet. I know it's going to be a good episode. So,
awesome.
Good morning, Carlitos. Glad you made it. Carlito and Tiffany on YouTube. Good morning. Markin967. Good to have you here. Wow, it's awesome. Glad to have you here. Ponyboy, good morning. And of course, Ron chimes in with a good morning to everybody as they go.
I try for a minute.
Yeah, I try for a minute. Exactly. Oh, man, you guys, I always see your comments throughout the show. I try to read them when I can. Sometimes, I got to let the show flow. It's not scripted, but, try to make it fit. Oh, my goodness, Ron. All right, we're going to have to jump into it. It is time for the simultaneous sip. Okay, go ahead right now and refresh it, Ron, so that we can watch the numbers for whatever reason. Sometimes there's a glitch.
Those numbers are bugging you.
Comments, but we read them all. Okay, great. Awesome. Okay, I know why you guys show up bright and early, especially Markin this morning. Wow, good job. Bright and early, you guys show up for the simultaneous sip, and all you need for that is a cup or a mug or a glass, a tankard, a chalice, a stein, a canteen, jug or flask, frankly, a vessel of any kind. Fill it with your favorite liquid. This morning, I like coffee in a paper cup. And join me now for the unparalleled pleasure of the dopamine hit of the day and the thing that makes everything better. It's time for the simultaneous sip, and it starts right now. Yeah, good show today, guys. Let me get the sound switched over. Oh, it happens. We're still going to do it, though. We'll do a simultaneous sip again. Ready?
It's still going to be the best.
Here we go. Best simultaneous sip ever. And it starts right... I got to rewind this now.
This is a technologist who likes technology, and I like computers. But we should not have computers do voting tabulation at all. It's far too easy to hack a computer. I know how to hack a computer. And government software is the easiest thing to hack. So it's not the best software. So we should, in my opinion, we should have paper ballots only. It should be in-person voting with ID. End of story.
End of story. Okay, that's going to tie in later today.
Technology.
Technologist Elon Musk can hack a computer, and he says, dude, we should not be letting computers count our ballots. And the government knows that our computers have been hacked when it comes to counting ballots. Okay, now, before we do that, Sarah Sings, good morning, made it to the show live again this morning. Oh, I'm so glad to have you. It's awesome. I had some more of that barbecue sauce last night. I'm kind of doing a carnivore thing right now, so I'm running out. I've got like 4 tablespoons left in the jug of barbecue sauce I have. Okay, guys, we need to set the stage here. We need to learn about something, and that is called the Southern Poverty Law Center. Have you ever heard of the Southern Poverty Law Center?
Yeah.
SPLC? Tell me about them.
I know almost nothing about him. I've just heard about him.
Okay, great. Well, we're going to let John Stossel bring us up to speed on the Southern Poverty Law Center. And what the Southern Poverty Law Center does is they basically are the anti-extremist group, kind of like the ACLU goes after civil liberties, the ADL goes after anti-Semitic people. Southern Poverty Law Center picks up the pieces that those guys leave out, goes after white supremacists and any kind of extremist hate group kind of thing.
Okay.
They've been embedded at the FBI. Okay. They're embedded at the FBI.
Okay.
They were embedded in Facebook. They would tell Facebook who to censor. They were one of the, credentialed fact checkers that would tell them who the extremist groups are that shouldn't be allowed to be platformed on their platforms.
I wonder who their board is.
Oh, dude, just wait. This is like I just want to diarrhea. I just want to vomit all these words out. All right. John Stossel, let's listen to this.
There are dangerous hate groups in America. Who will warn us?
That's the speed I listen to things. That's the speed I got to slow it down for the people, and I'm still going to go a little fast on this.
There are dangerous hate groups in America. Who will warn us about them? The media tell us.
The Southern Poverty Law Center. The Southern Poverty Law Center.
The Southern Poverty Law Center, based in that building in Alabama, calls itself the premier group monitoring hate groups and other extremists. Looking at their map of hate groups, you'd think hate groups were everywhere. I once believed what the center said. Well-meaning people still do. Apple gave them $1 million. But what donors don't know is that today the center smears good people.
The presence of radical Islam.
This Somalian woman speaks out against radical Islam. For that, the center put her on its list.
Join the fight against hate and bigotry.
Visit SPLcenter.org.
I do think that we have a problem with hate in this country.
We put about 10 of these major hate groups out of business.
When I first investigated the center, its leaders wouldn't talk to me. So liberal commentator Nomiki Konst defended them.
They have a long history of fighting against extremists like the KKK.
History, yes, but they labeled skeptical Muslims.
She's from the Young Turks. The Young Turks. The Young Turks. That's where Anna Kasparian works. Remember a couple weeks ago or a couple days ago, we played the clip of Nick Fuentes and Anna Kasparian saying the exact same sentences. And we talked about the horseshoe, how you go too far to the left or right, you end up back together, shaking hands. So she's from the Young Turks.
Like Ayaan Hirsi Ali is haters.
If you have a horrible experience with religion, that's one thing. It's another thing to use those experiences as ammunition against others who are practicing their religion peacefully.
But they're just speaking, criticizing it.
Of course she has the right to free speech, as does the Southern Poverty Law Center has a right to push back.
We can stand together against hate.
The center also calls the Family Research Council a hate group.
The definition of a marriage is what it's been for 5,000 years. It's the union of a man and a woman.
I often disagree with the council myself, but do they belong on this hate map?
When they don't agree with you politically, they're going to list you as a hater.
You are haters. You hate gays.
No, I don't hate gay people, and I know gay people, and I have worked with gay people.
But once you become a hate group, you're a target.
Developing now word of a shooting at the Family Research Council there in Washington.
One man was so enraged by what the Southern Poverty Law Center said about the Family Research Council, he went to their headquarters to kill people.
Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA was listed as one of these extremist hate groups by the Southern Poverty Law Center days before he was assassinated.
Man shot a security guard in the arm.
Fortunately, that guard stopped the man before he could shoot anyone else.
He told the judge that he was there to kill as many of us as possible because we were a hate group.
The center also smears the Ruth Institute, a Christian group that believes gays should not have an equal right to adopt children. They're not haters.
I like gay people. I have no problem with gay people. That's not the issue. The issue is, what are we doing with kids and the definition of who counts as a parent? There could be cases where the best person for a particular child would be their Uncle Harry and his boyfriend. You know, that could be. But we owe it to the children to give them the best we can, which generally is a married mother and father.
So you're a hater. When the Southern Poverty Law Center put the Ruth Institute on its hate map, the Institute's bank cut them off.
We've determined that you're an organization that promotes hate, violence, harassment, and so therefore we're not doing business with you.
So the Southern Poverty Law Center was able to get people debanked. I've often thought that it was the FBI or the government that told Wells Fargo to debank me. Makes me wonder now, could it have been the SPLC?
The Institute and the Family Research Council are still on the hate list.
There's no appeal, and I sure don't know how you get off.
I suspect the center keeps its hate list long because that brings in lots of money.
Morris Deese's salary is more than my entire annual budget. So yeah, whatever they're doing, it pays.
It sure does. Years ago, Harper's Magazine reported that the center was the richest civil rights group in America, one that spends most of its time and money trying to make more money. They promised to stop fundraising once their endowment reached $55 million. But when they reached $55 million, they changed that to $100 million, saying that would allow them to cease costly fundraising. But when they reached $100 million, they didn't stop. They collected $200 million, then $400 million. Now they've got $730 million. Yet they still smear people to raise more money.
Much of which is in offshore accounts, Caymans and places like that.
How do you know?
Oh, we look at their 990s.
And it says Cayman Islands?
Yeah.
Now the Southern Poverty Law Center calls groups that simply oppose sexually explicit content in schools anti-government extremists. Moms for Liberty and Moms for America are on the hate map because they dare do things like seek school board seats to try to stop districts from disregarding opinions of parents. Give me a break. The center puts them on the hate map, but not Antifa, the hate group that beats up people on the right. The center's become a hate group itself. It's now a left-wing, money-grabbing slander machine.
That's great, John Stossel. I love it. That's a good. So that's the SPLC. That's the SPLC, right? People are haters, so we raise money to fight the haters. People like Jamie Raskin. This was him in Congress in December 2025. This is 4.5 months ago, 5 months ago.
Now, in other times, Democrats and Republicans alike would rely on the Southern Poverty Law Center to help us keep track.
Democrats have relied on the Southern Poverty Law Center to help us keep track
of the movements of violent white supremacy in the country. The Southern Poverty Law Center has been a vigilant voice in civil society against radical white nationalist violence and extremism, neo-Nazism, and other forces across the political spectrum that spread organized hate from any quarter. The president, however, wants to undermine civil society organizations and to reduce our ability to defend ourselves against the virus of racial violence. Now, another...
All right, I got a couple of things. So the first thing is like, okay, they're trying to pile up a bunch of money. Who isn't? All right. But I love the
tips between now and May 9th. We're accepting tips. Don't forget.
Right. I got an ad that goes with that, but we can't play it yet. So the other thing was, what's the solution to all this stuff that they say, you know, the hate and all that? The solution is send out their minions to murder people. What?
There have been a list of hits by people who've gone out to shoot up people, and like that happened. Charlie Kirk, this is another one of these people. You hit their hate list, and all of a sudden, people think they're justified in coming after you.
Right, and
now,
so it's like, and then there's no talk or pushback about that. So they're complicit. And so what the heck is going on here? Are there other organizations like the SLP, whatever,
SPLC,
that are going under the radar like this one has been for me? Because I had heard of this organization, but I didn't really know what they were about. Are there other organizations that are like this?
The ADL, the ACLU, there's a whole slew of them. Okay.
All right, let's keep going.
Here's the thing. Yesterday, Todd Blanche and Kash Patel had a press conference. They had a press conference because they indicted the SPLC.
Oh,
this is what they said.
I want to make sure I understand. You're alleging that the Southern Poverty Law Center was paying the leaders of KKK and other groups to continue their operations. Is that?
I'm not alleging it. The grand jury returned an indictment that says that. And so what the investigation found, according to the indictment that was returned today, is that they were paying. So Southern Poverty Law Center is raising money, asking folks to give them money to dismantle racism. And over a very long period of time, they were using some of the money they raised from donors to pay to, they called them field, basically to informants, for information, for access, to just pay them for certain to do certain things, and so yes, that's exactly what the indictment charges.
Huh?
Is your heart racing? Is your heart racing yet? The Southern Poverty Law Center. Let me show you this. Let me show you this clip here. Okay.
I did like the look on Kash Patel's face. It was a little bit different look.
This is huge. So this is the chart that they had up behind them. Whenever they do one of these public press conference indictments, they always have a chart. So the Southern Poverty Law Center, Justice Department announces indictment against the Southern Poverty Law Center, SPLC. The indictment alleges that between 2014 and 2023, the SPLC secretly funneled $3 million in donated funds to white supremacists and extremist groups. These include National Alliance Affiliate, that's a white supremacy group, $1 million. Aryan Nations Affiliate,
I wonder who they are.
$300,000. Unite the Right member, Unite the Right. Do you know that? That's who organized the Charlottesville rally. The Fine People hoax that Donald Trump talked about right at the beginning of his presidency. Unite the Right. They paid the informant who organized that, and then Nazis came out of the woods with tiki torches. We'll get to that in a second. Former National Alliance, again, another one of these white supremacy groups. Former KKK members, 73K. American Front president and felon paid $19K. Now, these are the ones that are included in the indictment. There's others too. What they were doing is they were setting up shell corporations. And you know how you mentioned the money was in the Cayman Islands, so it loses transparency. They'd fall into a shell corporation, pay a KKK member. KKK member would go stir up some nonsense. Aryan Brotherhood, Unite the Right, and they would go stir up nonsense. And then SPLC would go, oh, look, extremist group, give us more money. Democrats, go track these guys. FBI, go prosecute these guys.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Man.
So here's the deal, though. So this is out of the indictment itself, right out of the indictment. F-37 was a member of the online leadership chat group that planned the 2017 Unite the Right event in Charlottesville, Virginia, and attended the event at the direction of SPLC. F-37 made racist postings under the supervision of the SPLC and helped coordinate transportation to the event for several attendees. Between 2015 and 2023, the SPLC secretly paid that one person more than $270,000.
F-37. What is that? Is that a person or is that an organization or what is that?
That's a person.
Okay.
Interesting enough, 0 Hour Post, Nick Fuentes is a far-right extremist, white supremacist, and podcaster who gained initial notoriety. This is where he got on the map for his attendance at the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia.
So F-37 is Nick Fuentes?
It's not by name yet, but dude, who else could it be?
I don't know.
Who else could it be? Now, let's tie things together here. Joe Biden was asked many, many times. Yes, Tony Boy, huge deal. Chentini, good morning. Okay, huge deal. Joe Biden was asked many times if he was going to run for president. 2017, 2018, 2019, and finally, in summer of 2020, he announced his candidacy.
I have no intention now. I've done nothing at all to put together any kind of operation to run. And as I said, as most of you guys know, no one ever doubts I mean what I say. The problem is I sometimes say all that I mean. And if I were offered the nomination by the Lord Almighty right now today, I would say no, because we're not ready. The family's not ready to do this. I've not decided to run or not run. My focus is, for real, electing a Democratic Congress. And if the Lord Almighty came down and said, Joe, the nomination is yours right now, you got to accept it right now, I'd say no. I don't want to take people's time, effort, and commitment without there being a clear shot that I could be the nominee. No. Well, but I'm not there yet.
And then something happened. There was the Charlottesville rally. The Charlottesville rally, often referred to as the Fine People hoax.
I don't want to mislead you. I'm being more straightforward. Yeah. Look, no one's ever doubted I mean what I say. The problem is I sometimes say all that I mean. I made the decision to run for president after Charlottesville. At that moment, I knew I'd have to run.
So at Charlottesville, Joe Biden decided to run. Here it is. Okay. This is Donald Trump talking.
You had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly.
Okay, so what happened? A rally in Charlottesville. They were going to take down a Robert E. Lee statue. And so there was a rally that happened. And at that rally, you had people who opposed taking down the statue, and you had people who wanted the statue to stay or come down. There are good people on both sides. There were good people with good intentions. Some people want to remember our history. Robert E. Lee was an honorable man. Remember, Abraham Lincoln praised him, wanted him to be the main general. Okay. So he's a serious part of American history. And on the other side, you had people that said he was racist and he fought for slavery and they wanted it to come down. Legitimate debate. But then there were neo-Nazis, white supremacists, came out of the woods with tiki torches. By the way, Alex Jones called it. These guys were actors. You look them up, they're all actors, can't figure out who they are. But these are the neo-Nazis. This clip right here got taken where they said there were fine people on both sides. Trump said the neo-Nazis are fine people, and they ran with this hoax. Now, eventually it got debunked. Like Snopes says, right, this is Snopes. No, Trump did not call neo-Nazis white supremacists and very fine people. Okay, so it kind of eventually got debunked. But SPLC paid and organized for this event to happen. This is how the people who came out of the woods with tiki torches got coordinated, was through the SPLC, the anti-white supremacy group. Now, this is Joe. And then what happened was there was a car. Again, the extremism follows. Whoever these guys point the finger out, the extremism follows. 1 dead as a car strikes crowd amid protests of white nationalists gathering in Charlottesville. 2 police die in the helicopter crash.
Oh, boy.
Okay. So this became a huge deal. Here's Joe Biden.
I ran for president in 2020 because of what I saw in Charlottesville in August of 2017. Extremists coming out of the woods, carrying torches, their veins bulging from their necks, carrying Nazi swastikas, and chanting the same exact anti-Semitic bile that was heard in Germany in the early 30s. Neo-Nazis, white supremacists, the Ku Klux Klan, so emboldened by a president then in the White House that they saw as an ally.
He mentions the KKK, white supremacists, Nazis. That's why he ran for president.
Joe Biden is so great. Those 4 clips that you played where he was like, "Oh, I'm not running. Even if the Lord himself came down." I was like, "Hold on. If the Lord himself came down and gave me a calling to be president, personally, I'm pretty sure I would not say no." What the heck?
Now, even Kamala Harris got on this in her debate with Trump after this had been debunked. Okay, after Snopes is like, yeah, it's debunked. He didn't call the Nazis white fine people. He said they should be condemned totally, right? Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Condemn the SPLC and their minions. Okay? Even she's continued this. This still to this day, if you go talk to a hardcore liberal, someone that never touches the conservative ecosystem, that little fraction of people that are just freaking crazy nutbags.
The whole thing was just manufactured.
Huh?
The whole thing was manufactured.
Totally manufactured.
Remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side.
Totally debunked. At the moment she said this, people, even some conservatives, your blue dog Democrats that have a Facebook account were like, that's actually not the case. This is the moment that a lot of people actually cracked and came out from under the Democratic spell. People like Scott Adams were like, he didn't say that. You guys are running with the hoax. Like, you're disconnected from truth. You remember that billionaire Indian guy that was talking about this? He's like, that fine people hoax is kind of what made me realize the news was lying to me. And once you had that door cracked, people started to see it. Okay. Because it always works against you. But the SPLC paid for it, organized it. KKK, Aryan Brotherhood, all these groups, they had informants in these groups. Yeah. Okay. So this is Kash Patel. I watched this press briefing twice, back to back. My heart was racing.
I haven't seen it yet.
We're not going to watch it. It's 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
Oh, okay.
But here's the thing. I mean, maybe we should do the show. We just stream these 5 minutes. When people, especially other J6ers, are like, why haven't they done anything for J6ers? It's like, when's the beginning of the crime? When's the beginning of the crime?
Right.
So when we're talking about Donald Trump, he comes down the escalator. Russiagate starts in the background, and we know that there's investigations into that, but there's not been any resolution. But Charlottesville was the first really forward-facing public thing that came out. You had the Russiagate nonsense simultaneously with Trump's a Nazi and supports Nazis and gets all of his support from Nazis. And that became like the groundswell against Trump to always mean orange man bad, orange man bad. The Russiagate thing was what you said to politicos. The Trump is a Nazi and a supporter of neo-Nazis is what you said to peasant Joe on a construction site or in a factory. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You had 2 tiers. Trump's a Russian stooge is a complicated thing. There's pinging going on, there's the bank pinging going on at the Trump Tower and Putin sending cryptic messages, and that's
might be
kind
too
of
much for low information voters.
Too much for low information voters. That was how you pulled off senators and House members and lobbyists and attorneys. But how you pulled off your ordinary guy in the street, everybody knows the KKK is bad. We settled that back in the 60s and 70s.
Right, exactly.
Right? Here's Kash Patel.
The Southern Poverty Law Center themselves advertise to raise money to dismantle violent extremist groups for a period of at least a decade. They use their donor network to raise money to purportedly dismantle violent extremist groups. However, the SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, used the money they raised from their donor network to actually pay the leadership of these very groups. I just want to say that again. They used the fraudulently raised money by lying to their donor network, thousands of Americans, to go ahead and actually pay the leadership of these supposed violent extremist groups. The groups, as the general laid out, include the Ku Klux Klan, the United Klans of America, Unite to Right, National Alliance, the National Socialist Movement, the Aryan Nation Motorcycle Club, and the National Socialist Party of America, and also the American Front.
Dude.
Sounds like the SPLC has a problem.
Machiavellian. This is Machiavellian. Cause the problem so you can present the solution. They had to have something to hate. Here's Paul Millett, right? This is the neo-Nazi, basically a guy in and out of prison, which you end up getting involved with white supremacy. They were paying him. F-30 led the National Socialist Party of America, was the former director of a faction of the Aryan Nations and a former member of the Ku Klux Klan. The SPLC website contained an extremist file on him, specifically naming him by name. Webpage for F-30, which the SPLC solicited donations. Between 2014 and 2016, the SPLC secretly paid F-30 more than $70,000. Now, keep in mind, for a guy that's going in and out of prison, that's actually a lot of money. Okay? This overlapped with time periods in which F-30 was featured on the SPLC's extremist file and webpage.
Now, I'm a little slow on the uptake, but I just recognized there was F-35 and F-30. How many Fs are there, and who's assigning these names?
This is the DOJ. Those are the people that are getting paid. So some of these people are probably going to be future co-conspirators, co-conspirators, that kind of thing.
So assuming that maybe there's F1 through F-37.
At least F-37, yeah. Yeah.
I wonder who those other people are.
And remember, they said they had to follow the money. None of this SPLC did not cut a check to the Ku Klux Klan guy, right? They funneled it down to the Caymans and then down to a shell corporation, which one of them was called the CIA, by the way. We're going to but they funneled them through these organizations. Now, 0 Hour posts this. When all these guys hit the scene, and this is a picture of Nick Fuentes, Ali Alexander, and I can't remember this guy's name in the background. When all these guys hit the scene, no one thought to ask, hey, where are you getting all this money? These folks were popping up all over the country. No jobs, no means of support, yet they grew because they caused a scene wherever they went. They caused havoc. Both of these gentlemen were at January 6th on the Capitol steps. Both of these gentlemen were provocateuring. Both of these gentlemen were deeply involved in that. Now, yesterday, we played the clip of Nick Fuentes, and I said, I think this is when they made him an informant, right? Turns out he might have been part of the system a whole lot longer than that. Remember, that Young Turks reporter was defending the SPLC. What Nick Fuentes says, the words coming out of his mouth, are absolutely identical to what Anna Kasparian was saying coming out of her mouth. Same thing. Cause the problem, fix the crisis, get more money, gain power, gain influence. Jamie Raskin says the Democrat Party relies on the SPLC to tell us who the extremists are. The FBI was deeply embedded with this. Here's a clip from the SPLC. Internet is forever. This is from Viva Fry. The SPLC is the enemy of the people. In an article from 2018, they conclude Trump's claim of white genocide are false. They refer to a fact check that contradicts the claim that a white farmer is killed every 5 days. In that fact check, at the very end of the lengthy and ad hominem attack on the activists who they claim, they conclude TAUSA figures for the 22 years between 1990 and 2012. The state, this is with the South Africa murders. They conclude that the claims are false because that number includes all farmers, not just white farmers. Over 87% of farmers killed have been white. You are awful and evil, SPLC. And here's the deal. This is Southern Poverty Law Center talking about January 6th. Loaded guns, zip ties, threats, several injuries, and 5 murders.
What?
You know the whole 5 cops died that day? I just want to know one of them. Who died that day?
Right.
Protesters. 4 protesters. No cops. Sitnik died of natural causes the next day. The next day, a Muslim Brotherhood or whatever Nation of Islam person rammed his car into a Capitol Hill.
We don't have to cover them all.
Right. FYI, we categorize the Islamic Center for Security Police as a hate group and have reported extensively on the group's founder. There's no surprise, Senator Ron Johnson. So these guys were deeply embedded with the pushing of the J6 narrative. Mike Benz posted this. No small irony, the SPLC going from being partnered with the FBI to raided by the FBI in under 4 years. This is American First Legal. American AFL has obtained thousands of pages of records exposing Biden's DOJ's shocking partnership and coordination with the radical SPLC to weaponize civil rights informant. No daylight between the DOJ and the SPLC. And this was posted October 3rd, 2025. So this isn't come out yesterday. We've known this. Anybody, I could have told, SPLC are the people who told Facebook who to ban. And John Stossel let us know they told banks who to debank. They told the FBI who to investigate. Now, here's an email between the SPLC, Southern Poverty Law Center, and Catherine, let's see, this is the DOJ, okay, Michael Lieberman. I hope you are well. You too, Jonathan. I appreciate getting to know an embargoed copy. I just finished my draft backgrounder and talking points. Would love to talk to you about the report. Is now good or tomorrow sometime in the morning? I have a topic for the meeting of civil rights groups with DAG, Deputy Attorney General. That's Todd Blanche's position. Lisa Monaco. The SPLC was meeting with Lisa Monaco. Who's Lisa Monaco? Barack Obama's fixer. Who's Lisa Monaco? She was on the leadership team at the Attorney General's office that told the prosecutors to remand me to prison. Lisa Monaco in bed, coordinating directly, sharing information directly with the SPLC.
Oh boy.
Hi, Michael. Were you in the group who got a preview from the FBI? Could we talk about the upcoming release? Thanks. These guys are working in with them. Here's the SPLC sending a letter to Susan Rice. Susan Rice, who's Susan Rice? She's the one in the room with Barack Obama when they decided to target Michael Flynn. She's at the center with Lisa Monaco and, you know, this cabal of people. There's a straight line between all of these things, right? Dear Ambassador Rice, the United We Stand National Summit represents a pivotal step in addressing hate, violence, and extremism in this country. Set clear expectations for the summit. Improve hate crime data collection. Enforce and implement existing hate crime laws. Hey, we want to tell you who to enforce. Attorney General Merrick Garland, Associate Attorney General Vanessa Gupta, and Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights Kristen Clark have demonstrated a deep commitment to the effective enforcement of our nation's hate crime laws. We appreciate the initial steps that the Department of Justice has taken to implement COVID-19 hate crimes, which include provisions of the Khalid Jabra and Heather Heyer National Opposition to Hate, Assault and Threats to Equality Act, No Hate Act, and also applaud a series of initiatives that the Attorney General has announced. Dude. Signed by the President, Chief Manager, Chief Policy Officer. They're working directly with Susan Rice, working directly with the DOJ. And look at this. Just for the visual image. Do you remember this? This is the most hate speech thing I'd ever seen in my life. Went totally unnoticed by the SPLC. Why? They propped this guy up. According to Joe Biden, it was the Charlottesville rally that told him to run. And this speech was all about going after white supremacists and extremists and J6ers and MAGA. I was in prison when he gave this speech. It was devastating. It was devastating. I thought I was never going to get out of there. I was never going to get out of there. And this speech is pretty reminiscent of Nazi imagery. Pretty reminiscent. Okay. Now, an interesting point of irony here. Tim Pool posts this. Holy shite. The indictment against the SPLC alleges they created a sole proprietorship called the Center Investigative Agency, otherwise known as the CIA. And that's how they were paying. I employee certified the sole ownership. So they created this shell proprietorship to funnel money to these people. So someone could be like, yeah, the CIA is paying me. Yeah, the Center for Information Agency. Oh, so here's Todd Blanche on with Laura Ingram talking about this.
Mr. Acting Attorney General, how did they get away with this for so long?
I mean, it's a great question. I said today during the press conference that we know that this investigation was opened during the Biden administration and then mysteriously closed. I really don't have any information about why it was closed. And then we started again last year. The FBI did, working with the U.S. Attorney in Alabama. And it's extraordinarily egregious. You just talked about it. But imagine a donor to the SPLC if they were told, by the way, we're going to give the money you're giving us to the Ku Klux Klan. Okay, like in some cases over $1 million. I mean, it's incredible.
Now, they say they're no longer using these informants in this way and that it was necessary because they had all sorts of threats against the organization, firebombing threats and other acts of purported violence. And that's why they had to use these informants. And to that, you say?
Well, to that, I'd say, for one, the indictment charges all the way through 2023. So I'm here to speak about what they're doing right now, but that indictment charges a long period of time through 2023. And second, and more importantly, There's no allegation or information in the indictment that suggests they shared that information with law enforcement. They have communicated.
They said they did.
Well, they have communicated when they so chose with law enforcement over the years. There's no information that we have that suggests that the money that they were paying to these informants and these members of these organizations, they then turned around and shared what they learned with law enforcement. To the contrary, or else we would have known from their own words that they had given this money to these guys, and we didn't know it.
Okay. The Biden administration got some kind of tip off. They opened an investigation into this, and then they just closed it. Why would the Biden administration, full of Democrats, haters, people like Lisa Monaco, who's working directly with the SPLC, close this investigation, Ron?
Well, I mean, you just can't find anything if you nothing to see here. I mean, I don't even know how to word salad it.
This idea of information laundering, similar to money laundering. You got to get someone else to do the information. The FBI leaked information to Yahoo News and Huffington Post, which they published. They then took those articles, went and put them in a warrant to get a warrant to spy on Trump. Okay. If you want to do law enforcement back in the days, right? And we know this because the FBI will send out an informant and they'll go infiltrate a gang or something like that. But he's a law enforcement official. Everything's above board. You know, and that law enforcement official can't incite people to violence, right? It's a real bad look. Like there's a case with the
it should be like considered like an observer.
There's a case with the Bundy Ranch situation where you had like 3 FBI agents driving around with one single guy, and they're giving him all the materials for a pipe bomb. They're driving him in front of mosques, and he's saying things like, dude, this is crazy. We're not bombing a mosque. Are you out of your mind? And one FBI agent is texting the other FBI agent saying, dude, you're pushing him too hard. Like you're literally encouraging him to do things. You're not letting him lead the way. You're pushing him. You're leading for him. Right. And they ultimately settled on dropping off an inert pipe bomb outside of a vacant BLM building. Boom. Now he's done the act. He gets arrested. Okay. So that's a bad look. Or how about the Michigan kidnapping plot where you've got 18 people involved, 12 of them are FBI agents and CIs. Okay. It's a bad look. So it's a lot more efficient, especially when you have these long burning things, to have an NGO do it, have a nonprofit do it. And they can do a little bit more shady things. In the indictment, one of the things they allege is...
I think you just want to have a case because you have to be able to point to the case and say, well, look, we looked into it. We didn't find anything. Everything is copacetic.
Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on.
Okay.
In the indictment, it alleges, for example, with the Ku Klux Klan, one of the members was paid to break into the facility where they had grabbed documents, all the lists, people that are involved, all the confidential stuff that Ku Klux Klan keeps, turn it over to the SPLC, make copies of it, and then return it. When the Ku Klux Klan leadership found out that, hey, somebody broke in here and took all these paperwork, the SPLC paid a different Ku Klux Klan member to take the fall. Because the guy who got the documents and had access was higher ranking. So they literally paid a lower ranking guy to take the fall and take the blame and admit that he's the one who stole the documents. That's pretty nefarious. Right? It's pretty nefarious. But the SPLC goes ahead and reports on the activity of the Ku Klux Klan and their extremist activities so the FBI can get a win. But meanwhile, they're doing that thing. Charlottesville. They create the entire Charlottesville rally. People died. People died. No Charlottesville rally without Unite the Right. No Charlottesville rally without Unite the Right. No Find People hoax. No nothing. Doesn't happen. The SPLC created that entire event. And that's why Joe Biden had to run for office. And to this day, you could go talk to people on the street, and a significant portion of people, especially if they're leaning far left, are going to go, yeah, Trump supported fine neo-Nazis. He called them fine people.
Yeah, I hear that all the time, and I just shake my head like, you guys need to wake up.
So Kash Patel promised us in the next few weeks we'd see arrests. This was an indictment against the SPLC. They said it's an ongoing investigation, so you're going to see people named in the indictment now, further indictments, as the people who actually coordinated behind the scenes of the nonprofit.
So this is like the first big domino.
Yes. When we hit James Comey, it was over some leaks. When they hit Letitia James, it was over mortgage fraud. These are satellite issues, right? Get the person, but they're satellite issues. It just goes to show how nefarious they are. When they talk about a grand conspiracy, and we draw a straight line. And J6ers, those that listen, this is why we haven't seen anything yet. This is why Todd Blanche has been waiting, because it's like dominoes. once they start to fall and they get to J6, it's fait accompli, man. It's fait accompli. So you can't start in the middle because then you leave SPLC doing their laundry work. SPLC will go, look, now the DOJ is a hate group because they're supporting a bunch of white supremacists and people.
And then it'll just continue.
Now, this hits really close to home because the origins of 1776 Live came out of a group called American Meeting Group. They were named on SPLC's hate list.
Oh.
Okay. So I was unaware of this until yesterday. And I was like, are you kidding me? I just stayed away with a 50-foot pole, you know? I was like, are you freaking a joke? Like, I'm already on the list myself. So, wow. Guys, my heart, I have been trepid. I have been nervous. I have been excited since that press conference yesterday. This is the first, and there's been some strike backs, but really they've been like defensive strikes, catch a punch. Right. This was a freaking hook to the jaw. Jamie Raskin, you look like a fool. Joe Biden, you look like a moron. These guys are now under indictment and they got the money. They got the paper trail. This hate group called the SPLC that fomented hate so they could raise money on fighting hate. It's Machiavellian at its perfection level. And guess what? The ADL is going to be involved in stuff like this. The ACLU is going to be in stuff like this. Every nonprofit that raises money to fight these niche issues, all of them start to be suspect. Every organized group that gets labeled extremists, you have to start asking, are these propped up groups? And yes, this includes the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, and others. It doesn't mean the guys that ran the Ku Klux Klan weren't sincere. Okay. It doesn't mean the guys who run the Proud Boys aren't sincere.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, it was pretty revelatory to me when a Proud Boy sat down and said, I never did drugs until I went to a Proud Boys meeting and they were passing around cocaine. And, you know, I don't say that like, yeah, these are drug dealers. No, you know, groups do what groups do. You know, the bowling club sometimes drinks a little too much. But nonetheless, you start to see this stuff. Another big event happened yesterday. Kerry Kirchhoff, CIA member, former Capitol Hill police officer, and alleged pipe bomber, according to Steve Baker and the Blaze reporting, sued Steve Baker and the Blaze.
Oh.
Now, the law firm that they're working with is often known as the law firm that defends CIA agents who get discovered or uncovered. Okay. And so they filed a 120-something page lawsuit. And Viva Frei, who's followed this case, says, setting aside issues relating to Kirchhoff's alleged / potential / denied involvement in the J6 pipe bombs, once you understand that her defamation lawsuit, much like the CBS article against Kash Patel, is actually disguised as a hit piece on the ODNI, who's that Tulsi Gabbard, who's investigating all this deep stuff, you will read everything entirely different. So one of the things that she alleges in her lawsuit is Baker gave a tip to the ODNI and then funneled that information back out and said, the ODNI confirmed this and they've tipped me off. I don't know. We'll find out. They say Baker shared his tip with the ODNI only weeks before his planned reporting on Kirchhoff. On information and belief, this tip was a key component of the defendant's orchestrated plan to falsely name Kirchhoff as the pipe bomber. And so then what happened was Kirchhoff actually got raided. Okay. She had helicopters flying over her house, police cars. She got SWAT raided like a J6er because they took this serious, as in they saw the gate analysis. They saw the circumstantial evidence. They saw that and they came after her hard. And then, of course, she failed her lie detector test. And they explained more about that, how, you know, she was breathing heavy and all these different things. And then they used the tactic where they unhook her from the machine and go, we think you failed, and see how she acted. So she has now come out, sued these guys. Steve Baker's like, got no worries. Got no worries. We'll see. Now you get discovery both directions. She did release the video of her dog. Yeah, she's not in it. Okay, she's not in it. Big deal. Now, Donald Trump also posted this yesterday on his Truth Social. And again, this SPLC thing was the first big domino to fall. And Trump is always out ahead of this. He's always out ahead of this.
Should shake every single American in their shoes. I hate to say this, but President Barack Obama, there is now incontrovertible evidence that he was the spearhead of a seditious conspiracy to subvert the will of the American people and overthrow the United States government back in 2016. We must, absolutely must, hold every one of these criminals accountable for the crimes that they committed. They are the most heinous crimes committed in American history. James Comey, John Brennan, Clapper, Rice, Biden was in the meeting in July 28th in the Oval Office. They briefed Barack Obama on Hillary Clinton's plan to, quote, tie Trump to Russia collusion lies. It consumed our national discourse for 5 years. It undermined a sitting duly elected president. It sabotaged administration. It framed a 3-star general. It destroyed and ripped this country apart. We had a constitutional crisis, the likes of which I don't think any American can fully comprehend. It is atrocious, and every single one of them must be held accountable.
Trump posted that. Barack Obama was at the center of this. Joe Biden was there. Joe Biden went on to succeed Barack Obama in this cabal as president and used the SPLC as his impetus. The SPLC did the work of the peasants to make sure that we were all slandering Trump as a Nazi and a neo-Nazi sympathizer and a white supremacist and orange man bad. And the Russiagate thing is what did the top layer with attorneys and high-level bank officials and people who are a little bit more, intelligent about things that would watch the video at Charlottesville and go, oh, he didn't say that, but he's colluding with Russia. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This was huge yesterday. This was huge. We had Kevin Warsh at his nomination hearings for the Federal Reserve. Barely going to cover that today. we had a bunch of stuff going on yesterday, but this right here, as far as I'm concerned, is
it's the meat.
Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. The other thing too is Joe DeGenova. I could say his name all day the day before, all day yesterday, and once I get on this behind this microphone, I can't say his name. Okay, so this is a little clip about how he was activated here to go after these guys.
The DOJ just activated a grand jury against him. Subpoenas issued, witnesses called, the prosecutor who tried to protect him removed.
Replaced John Brennan, right, who's part of this cabal.
Faced with a man who will not hesitate. Justice Department's criminal probe into whether former CIA Director John Brennan lied to Congress were subpoenaed over the weekend to testify before a grand jury in Washington, D.C. Multiple sources familiar with the matter told CBS News. This is from Julie Kelly. The subpoenas went out shortly after the Justice Department appointed conservative Trump ally Joe DiGenova to formally take over the criminal investigation into Brennan after the career prosecutor handling the case was removed last week. So there were headlines out about Joe DiGenova, from 8 years ago when the fake news media relentlessly smeared him for saying the DOJ had framed John Brennan, Obama's CIA director, the architect of the Russia hoax, the man who signed the order to spy on a sitting president. The DOJ just activated a grand jury against him. Subpoenas issued, witnesses called, the prosecutor who tried to protect him removed, replaced with a man who will not hesitate. The same Department of Justice they weaponized against Trump is now hunting the people who gave the orders. They built a surveillance machine to destroy one man, President Trump. They wiretapped his phones, President Trump's phones. They infiltrated his campaign. They fabricated evidence. They leaked classified intelligence to the media. And they signed their names on every page. FISA applications require signatures. To spy on Trump, they had to, sign documents. Every lie, every fabrication, every anonymous source has a name attached to a warrant. Brennan signed it. Comey signed it. McCabe signed it. Peter Strzok signed it. The DOJ
all signed it. Peter Strzok, actually, in one instance, as well as another agent named Tom Thibodeau, they opened the investigation. They wrote their signature to open the investigation. They authorized the investigation, and they submitted the warrant for the investigation. Same person. On multiple times. Okay. SPLC. Now you've got Joe DeGenova down there, took over for the prosecutor that was stalling. And when this happened yesterday, John Brennan was on MS Now, where he's a paid contributor. It's a paid contributor, still getting paid, right? This is an investigation about him.
It just shows that over the past 10 years, there's been, failure after failure to try to identify something that, wrongdoing in this case. But, part of this is to harass, to try to hurt individuals reputationally, professionally, financially.
That's what they did. That's what they did. That's what Russiagate was. To smear, harass, hurt them reputationally, cost them money and lawfare. That's what they did. Projection, SPLC, projection. There's haters over there. I think you're the hater. Right? Total projection.
Something that, wrongdoing in this case. But, part of this is to harass, to try to hurt individuals reputationally, professionally, financially, trying to keep the story alive as a way to deflect from other issues and challenges that they face. So again, I'm not surprised by this. I'm very dismayed and disappointed by it. I'm also very troubled that we have people in government who seem to be so mean-spirited that they try to actually to hurt individuals, hurt people, their families, and others. And they claim to be.
I went to prison, John Brennan. I went to prison.
That is so rich. They're mean-spirited.
They're mean. Dude, you should have seen the look on my prosecutors' faces, bro. One of them looked like a praying mantis, like about to pounce Ashley Akers. Ah! I remember when Doug Wyatt came into the J6 pod, he also had Ashley Akers. Evil, demonic woman. Yeah, bro. They're mean-spirited.
Part of the Republican Party? This is not the Republican Party that I work with, or that you worked with. There are people of integrity who never would have thought the Department of Justice would have fallen as far as it has. And
yeah, the Republicans are fucking retards. Okay, they sit and they project their virtue. Well, there's a guy. He took an oath. He took an oath. Eh? I wouldn't do that.
Hand on the Bible, man.
No, hand on the Bible. Wouldn't do that. Oh, never. Oh, our institutions are flawless.
So again, every day when I wake up, there's something new that I just find just being so surreal and separated from the government and the reality that I worked in for 33 plus years. But again, I take every day as it comes. It just,
Yeah, you probably should.
Keep talking.
Yeah, you probably should. Peter Navarro, also a victim of all of this, 4 months in federal prison, right? Targeted over his allegations that the 2020 election was in fact stolen. Talks about how sweeping and broad of a conspiracy this is. And it's the same thing I've been saying. Dude, it's the same people all the way through this. And now we loop in the SPLC. I was unaware of that. I mean, obviously, it's like, dude, these are all paid informants. Where's the money coming from? Now we know. Now we know.
Okay, Dr. Peter Navarro, you were at the hearing today. You have a strong interest in this. I know the players. Put us in the room.
Okay, so they had a hearing where Jeff Clark from America First Legal wasn't even in existence on January 6th. Arctic Frost investigation, they subpoenaed American First Legal's documents. Didn't even exist as an organization. They subpoenaed them, sued them, okay? Tried to drag him into litigation. Didn't even exist. And he's like, I know it was political and targeted. We didn't even exist on January 6th, and our organization was targeted. You know what's interesting? I didn't know this. One of the things Jeff Clark says goes, how do we know this was political? He says the name itself. They actually changed the name of the operation from whatever it was to Arctic Frost. Do you know what Arctic Frost is? It's an orange. Orange Man. He says they may as well have called it Orange Man Bad. It's an orange. Operation Orange. Arctic Frost.
I'm getting it now. I'm getting it because it affects the orange crops.
The Orange Man. The Orange Man Bad. Well, just the name. That's a name of a particular species or whatever. What do you call a plant? Different. One of the varieties of oranges. One of them's called Arctic Frost. Look it up.
All right.
Okay. So Arctic Frost.
Schmidt, Senator Schmidt, that guy is off the charts. I'm so happy that your audience is going to hear from him. He gave the most concise and eloquent explanation of the weaponization of government, the importance of what Senator Grassley is doing in a series of hearings cannot be overstated, Steve. Watergate, if you think about it, was just a small burglary. Some documents, some photographs, this. What Grassley is going to prove
is that this was a stolen presidency. This is the biggest conspiracy this country has ever seen. And it's really interesting. You listen to these cold opens, everybody's trying to obfuscate what happened. So let me try to put this in perspective. And I speak from the perspective of somebody who went to prison as a result of this weaponization. So you can think of me as a dot in a matrix. You're a dot, I'm a dot. And these operations,
I'm a bigger dot.
You got about 50 pounds on me. I'm looking at right now.
Hang on. We're going to go to break. Okay. I want to give you plenty of runway. Yeah.
So you can think of it as I'm in the same way. I'm a dot in this matrix, this conspiracy. I'm one of the little nodes, right? I'm absolutely certain, and I know this, and this is one of the reasons why, for those of you that have been my close friends and family, and this is a trauma I deal with. I don't call people. I remember my brother-in-law said, you're going to find out who your friends are. People stopped calling me. I have a family member who was told by her husband, who's in law enforcement, don't call him, don't talk to him. And I talked to him one time over speakerphone. She called him, and I was in the car, and he's like, oh, the feds have your ass. Your ass is grass, bro. Like you ain't getting out of that. And I was like, huh. And I know a lot of people didn't want to reach out, didn't want to call me, didn't want to be involved. I know
they don't want to be associated with it,
some of the people that wrote letters to the judge mentioned that, like, a dear friend of mine don't want to talk to him. Because in fact, you mentioned that in your own letter. You were like, I'm nervous to even write this letter because it puts me on the map with association. We already did a podcast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I often did and you've mentioned that you thought you were followed from time to time, had some weird instances going on. Go ahead. Tell about it.
Dude, I can't right now because it's actually still happening.
Oh my God. See, that's SPLC nonsense, right? And I always try to cast a cloak of charity. I do it just like everyone else. I project my virtue, and I just kind of walk through life like, listen, I got nothing to hide. Like I handed the FBI my phone. I got nothing to hide.
I got one I'll mention right now. Yesterday, my wife was in a store, and she comes home afterwards, and she's like, man, 100%, this person was a plant. Because she's just standing in line at the grocery store, and this person starts bringing up and talking about hot topic items and things in the news, and wants to get my wife's opinion on, how crazy things are in America. And it was like, this is not just some random, just regular everyday person, interaction. And she came away from that like freaked out.
And see, this is why I don't go anywhere. I'm literally wearing sweatpants right now. Like I'm going to go home. I work from home. Right? I don't go anywhere. I don't do nothing. There's no nexus of attack, and you're obviously a little bit more exposed. You know what I mean? So we don't know.
And we don't know.
But it puts everything into suspect, right? Because these guys are vicious and vile. They're mean-spirited, Ron. They're mean-spirited. It's one of those things where we just sit back and we go, what are our principles, right? We have to stand on our principles here. If we stand long enough, eventually we become vindicated. And that's it. That's all people can do. I admire Donald Trump. In the face of all of this, lesser men would buckle, right? But he turns around and faces it like a lion. There's no other explanation for it. He's built differently. And I'll tell you, meeting some J6ers, they're built differently. And not all, okay, but some are built differently. There are people that have been involved in this from the beginning. For example, Devin Nunes. He's the first one who came out and said, this Russiagate thing, I think there's some problems with this intelligence. And he eventually resigned from Congress. A lot of people thought we lost a real fighter. Went and worked for Donald Trump at True Social, secured the Cold Fusion merger with, because they're a technology company. Well, he's stepping down with his role at Truth Social so that he can focus on his side gig, which is an Intel oversight advisor for Donald Trump. So now he's going to be doing that full time. Again, this line, where does it start? The opening shot was this SPLC thing. That was, we've already seen some stuff with Russiagate, but that's again for the politicos, right? That's, some DOJ and some manipulated, background evidence. But the real opening shot was this SPLC thing. And now Devin Nunes stepping down, Absolutely. They're going to follow this thread all the way through. Eventually, the dominoes are going to make it to 2020, January 6th, Joe Biden's entire presidency. So Devin Nunes departing media Trump to focus on his intel oversight role. Kevin McGurn is going to be taking over. It's from John Solomon at Just the News. That's great news. Great news. Now, the coup is still ongoing. We have in Virginia yesterday, we had an election to basically suspend their recent constitutional amendment for districting. Okay. And yesterday, Virginia allegedly voted to allow them to redistrict to make the map more fair up until 2030, in which time they'll return to the status quo, which is the Constitution. Now, this is one of those interesting things. And we'll talk about this here in just a second. But basically, you had early mail-in voting, and early mail-in voting was overwhelmingly to do this redistricting plan. The day of voting, there was like a 9 or 10 point spread. Most people voted no. And then you had some other early voters that voted yes. And so in the end, it shook out to where it's about 1 percentage point. It's like 49% no, 50.6%, I think is the final count now. Yes. And now what's going to happen is Virginia is going to have 10 House seats that will go Democrat, and they're going to have 1 Republican seat in the far western side of the state. I'm going to show you this map here in a second, but it's not over. Fight's not over. There's going to be a legal challenge simply based off the wording of the wording of the proposal on the ballot. So that's step 1.
Approving an overhaul of congressional districts that favor the left.
The outcome could have major national implications when the midterms roll around. Madeline Rivera is live in Washington with the latest for us. Maddie.
Hi, good morning. So the new map takes effect immediately. The plan changes Virginia from 6 Democratic and 5 Republican House districts to a 10-to-1 split. The 4 left-leaning seats that Dems could pick up would give them an edge in the midterm.
Now look at this map here. So this is like Fairfax, Virginia.
As the GOP tries.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 districts are all going to start here. Look how big that district is. This is all red territory.
I love District 2 that's split in half.
District 2, yeah. It jumps a gap. Again, these have nothing to do with coherent geographic areas or this is, let's go get this hard Democrat area right here and dilute the vote of the rural area.
Yeah, it's definitely manufactured.
All that is wildly gerrymandered. We want to make it more fair.
Right.
That doesn't look fair to me.
Cling on to a tight House majority. The vote has reignited criticisms of hypocrisy on both sides. Democrats say the redistricting effort is necessary to counter President Trump's push for GOP states to redraw their maps. Former President Obama saying, "Congratulations, Virginia. Republicans are trying to tilt the midterm elections in their favor, but they haven't done it yet. Thanks for showing us what it looks like to stand up for our democracy and fight back."
What?
Rally cry from the treasonous traitor himself.
This is so dumb. I mean, the Republicans didn't do anything. And how are they? This is a Republican gerrymandering, isn't it? Not?
This is Democrat gerrymandering.
That's what I mean. Democrat gerrymandering.
Yeah.
So how is it that the Republicans did anything?
Dude, this goes back to my super disappointment in the Senate. They had more than enough money to have fought this. They put nothing into it. $70 million came in from Democrat organizations. I wonder if the SPLC put any money into this.
Oh, yeah.
But the Republicans put almost nothing into it. Now, Republicans do this thing where they're like, dude, it's so stupid. Like, we don't even need to fund it. People will just know. Not unless you tell them. This is why we have to do the political remodel. Is because we've got to get the PCOs where they're active in their local neighborhoods and communities to override this air game that the Democrats are capable of doing. It's completely fraudulent, man. Like
totally
from top to bottom, it's fraudulent. We have listeners out in Virginia that are just beside themselves about this.
Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger,
CIA agent, former CIA agent, ran as a moderate. First thing she does, ICE, get out of town, redistricting push. She's broken every campaign promise. She's the least popular Virginia governor in the history of Virginia.
who once spoke out against partisan gerrymandering, is defending the effort in her state. She says, as we watch other states go along with those demands without voter input, Virginians refuse to let that stand. We responded the right way at the ballot box. Spanberger says the move is temporary, but it is expected to last until at least 2030 when the new census happens. The vote's not exactly a landslide. Check this out. The yes vote has a narrow lead of about 3 percentage points. Former Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin suggests that shows how
the final count I saw was significantly less than that. So the margin lessened because the day of voters was overwhelmingly against this.
divided folks are about this issue. He says the race was much closer than the left expected because Virginians know a 10-to-1 map is not Virginia. I urge the Virginia Supreme Court to rule against this unconstitutional process that will disenfranchise millions of Virginians. There have been multiple lawsuits, including whether the ballot language was appropriate and whether the process to place the amendment on the ballot was legal. Lawrence Ainsley and Brian.
Okay.
So now we're relying on the judicial system to come to our rescue.
So the language, I'm guessing, is some of this double negative talk. That,
it was like to restore fair elections or fair results as if they're not. Right. And they just did a constitutional amendment to make them fair so they weren't gerrymandered by the politicians. It was a bipartisan committee that would do it. And they're like, we want to suspend that and let the legislature draw these maps between now and 2030. That's what they were doing. This is a direct assault. This is trying to impeach Trump again, obstruct his second administration, stop all these investigations, tie him up in public-facing litigation. And Barack Obama was deeply involved in this. This is an ongoing coup. Wake up, people. Our country is not secure. Wake up, people.
It's being stolen.
John Solomon had Representative Eli Crane on his show talking about the election apparatus and the rigging of elections and the stuff that he's getting briefed on in Congress.
All right, sir, you served in uniform on the front lines. You know the threats we face. When you hear that our intelligence community kept from the American public, from the Congress, some significant vulnerabilities in our 2020 election system, that's what these documents, Tulsi Gabbard declassified, show, that they also knew that China had penetrated multiple state voter registration databases.
Okay, so let's look at those documents real quick before we continue on with this. So Tulsi Gabbard, yesterday, this became public. She declassified it a month ago, and it finally came to our purview. This was posted by Rasmussen Reports. So this is the National Intelligence Council. This was created on the 15th of January, 2020. This is before Joe Biden swore in. I'm indicted already. January 7th, I'm indicted. I'm not arrested. February 11th was when I was arrested. We knew because on January 7th, Ratcliffe came out and goes, yeah, there might have been some foreign, hacking in our elections, blah, blah, blah. And it went completely unnoticed because the whole world was raging against Donald January 6th. Something where some of these SPLC informants, Nick Fuentes primarily, possibly Ali Alexander, who both escaped actual indictments, were involved in organizing certain of the protests. Also, Alex Jones, the women's group that was also listed as a hate group, had a permit out there. So you had a whole confluence of these promoted groups that were there. We know there were FBI informants in the crowd. We know there were FBI agents in the crowd, plainclothes agents to do riot control, right? We have high suspicions that the Capitol Hill Police through Kerry Kirchhoff was involved. We know Yogananda Pittman was suppressing all of the intel that was coming in saying things are going to pop off, right? All of that stuff going on. Here's the National Intelligence Council memorandum, 15th of January. Okay, it goes through here. We assess at least Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea. Oh, that's an interesting lineup. Have the capability to access, potentially manipulate U.S. data in U.S. election-related computer systems. But we do not know whether they have specific plans to interfere with the functioning of these systems. We assess centralized election-related data repositories, such as voter registration databases, poll books, and official election websites are most vulnerable. Systems that tabulate, transmit, or display election results are vulnerable to localized exploitation that would be difficult to manipulate on a wide enough scale. Adversary claims of manipulation would be difficult to disprove and would undermine public confidence in the results. And then it goes through here. Russia. We judge U.S. adversaries, including, at a minimum, Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea, as well as non-state groups. Non-state groups. So this could be the Dominion themselves, Smartmatic themselves. Shoot, maybe SPLC was involved in this.
Maybe it was Hamas.
Non-state groups have the capability to compromise U.S. election infrastructure for the 2020 election. Adversaries gaining access to U.S. election-ready systems could disrupt the voting process, steal sensitive data, or undermine confidence. Russia almost certainly reconnoitered all U.S. state election networks during the 2016 election cycle. The availability of sophisticated computer network intrusion or attack tools on the dark web gives additional countries and non-state actors potential capability to interfere in election. Okay, it goes through the voter registration databases, poll books, state and local official websites. We assist systems designed to tabulate, vote, transmit vote amounts, or display election results probably are vulnerable to localized exploitation. This was in 2020. This isn't post Tulsi Gabbard actually being able to look at the machines to see if it was hacked. They're just looking at this going, dude, these systems are wide open. Okay. It goes on to continue. Poll book hacking example. They have an example in here.
Oh, jeez.
Okay. 31 state and District of Columbia allow eligible voters to submit absentee ballots via internet or fax. You can fax in your vote, making these votes susceptible to disruption or manipulation. 4 states allow voters to return absentee ballots via a web-based portal. 7 allow some voters to return ballots via fax only. And 1 allows mobile voting. Secured with blockchain technology. Oh, blockchain doesn't mean anything without all the right protocols. Absentee vote, in fact, it's wildly hackable. Ask my dad; he's an expert. Absentee votes, however, are a small number and typically closely monitored for anomalies. No, they're not. Not in 2020. Not in 2020 when mail-in voting became the thing. Joe Biden ran his entire campaign with 6 people in his audiences saying, "Well, my audience is all scared of COVID and they're going to vote by mail." Ballot and voting machine preparation and vulnerabilities goes through that. How there's vulnerabilities there. Okay. False manipulation narratives could undermine political confidence. Of course they could, right? So this was released. They knew this back then. So now let's go back to John Solomon and Eli Crane.
And did untoward things with the data, but they kept that from us. And then they sold us a bill of goods saying, most secure election in history, which clearly these documents show you won't. What goes to your mind? Why don't we need to have an intelligence committee that tells us the truth?
100%, John. And, honestly, it just confirms what many of us have believed for a long time. I never for a second believed that, Joe Biden got 81 million votes, over 10 million more than Barack Obama got. I think almost 15 million more than Hillary Clinton got. I mean, I remember people being excited about, Barack Obama, even though I clearly didn't like him. But nobody was excited about Joe Biden. And I mean, the Democrats were obviously, that was a time during COVID, they were pushing the mail-in ballots, which we all know are the easiest way to inject fraud into an election system. Meanwhile, we've got these machines and tabulators that are not new technology. They're very hackable. I mean, John, all the time up here, I go down into the skiff and listen to folks from the FBI and Homeland Security talking to us about, how foreign adversaries are hacking, some of the equipment that, we use that is a lot newer, a lot more robust, has a lot more protections. And, it's just never really bought that this was a clean election at all. And once again, we're just learning more that many of us believe for a long time. And I can't wait to, hear more of the drops that are coming.
Yeah, important stuff.
Absolutely. Well, and among the vulnerabilities, go ahead.
I do want to say, guys, I'm also not surprised though. I feel like we're seeing the exact same thing with the SAVE Act right now. The Democrats do not want us to have secure elections. That's why they will not, even though it's a 80-20 issue, they do not want non-citizens voting in our elections. That's why they won't pick up the SAVE Act, Save America Act. And, it's just, we're seeing the same thing. I mean, there's no other excuse. They'll try and act like, oh, well, these guys can't, it's unfair. It'll, deprive people from voting. That is complete nonsense. I mean, you go out there and talk to a lot of these, folks that have been polled on both sides of the aisle, and they have no problem, registering to vote or getting to, a voting station or even sending in a mail-in ballot, which many of us would like to see, us get rid of. But it's just complete nonsense. They want our elections to be, completely, vulnerable so that they can continue to do what they've been doing. And it's not a surprise to me as well, because honestly, their policies have gotten so crazy, that I don't feel, and many up here don't feel, that they could win a fair election anyway.
They can't win a fair election. They have to rely on manufactured outrage, manufactured votes, a manufactured constituency. The whole thing is a house of cards.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody just needs to blow it down. This is unbelievable. The density of some Americans to just have their head in the sand on this stuff. Your country is being ripped away from you by these assholes, these mean-spirited people.
Mm-hmm.
Turn off mainstream news and turn on the Peasants' Perspective.
Yes.
Right? I would love it if I could actually, it drives me bonkers when people are like throwing in the towel on Trump because he's covering up for Epstein. Do you have any idea what he's actually trying to do behind the Epstein, the scenes? He's trying to prevent an Epstein thing from ever happening again.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to change our economic system. He's trying to go after the deep state while it's still attacking him. He's trying to, he's got to work with the Republican Party, who's full of people that are just like, I'm on the take. What do I care? My family's fine. I've got insider information. I can trade stock all day long.
Surrounded by wolves.
I get the liquidity. Taking money back from USAID, funneling it through Ukraine. War is good. I mean, this crowd is insane. And the intelligence community has known this all along.
Today, I have a news story out that tells us that perfect election in 2020, remember the one that Chris Krebs said was the most secure in American history? It wasn't. And in fact, we knew going in, the United States intelligence agencies knew going in it wouldn't be the most secure election in American history. We now have confirmed that both Iran and China hacked into voter registration databases and used that data for malinfluence measures and other things in the 2020 election. But today's story is very important.
Okay, so the Iran situation, we can't have a nuclear weapon. That's the low-hanging fruit. The real thing is if they attacked our election, that's an act of war. That is an act of war. So pull up your panties, boys and girls.
It shows that in the beginning of the 2020 election season, while a lot of people were babbling, we had a great secure system, the intelligence community assessed unanimously that our election systems were highly vulnerable to foreign penetration. Voting machines less likely in the present, more likely in the future. But the voter registration databases, which, by the way, just a few months later got hacked by Iran and China, were assessed to be extraordinarily vulnerable. And then the intelligence community said what would likely happen if those voter databases were breached, that foreign powers like China and Iran might try to vote in the election on behalf of other peoples. What do we know now happened? We know the FBI intercepted tens of thousands of fake driver's licenses that were supposed to come in to get ballots for Joe Biden in the 2020 election. So one of the things that is very important for those senators who might be sitting.
And that was one package they intercepted. You think it's the only one they sent?
They're right now thinking, we don't really have an election security problem. Read the documents we've put out in the last 4 weeks. And these are not the most explosive documents to come out from the DNI. I believe Tulsi Gabbard will reveal sometime in May, early June, that there were 18 states that had their voter registration databases breached by China in some form, on top of the one that Iran did. That is a national alarm, and it's been kept a secret for 6 years. When it happened in Great Britain went into great alarm in 2024. There were recriminations and reforms. I think that moment in May, when each state gets notified, hey, your voter data was compromised by China and it was used in this way, that could be an awakening moment and perhaps change the debate in the Senate. Otherwise, I think John Thune's grand old procrastinator party, the GOP, grand old procrastinators, probably won't get the bill done.
Yeah, they're not going to do it because what's in it for me? Your states were hacked. Dude, they already know this.
Yeah, they don't care.
Already know this. They just won't do anything because you don't know this.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only reason. Call your senators. Go back to yesterday's episode and watch it. I put up the list of everybody's phone number. Let them know that you know. Ed Martin, who now follows me, by the way, Ed Martin, the weaponization working group, who a lot of people feel like was neutered by Todd Blanche. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe they just had to line these dominoes up. But he says this, see the steal. This enrages me. This is a DOJ official saying, see the steal. Do something.
Come on, dude.
Do something about it. Seth Keshel post, who we listened to yesterday, early in-person voting, 58.8 to 49% yes to that ballot measure. Election day in person, 54.5 to 45% no. Mail-in voting, 75.5% to 27%. 75% of the mail-in votes. Here it is. Mail-in ballots, they were plus 45% yes. You just heard John Solomon say the voter registration system was hacked to create these fake ballots. They know who is and isn't going to vote based on your past history, your current social media posting. You expose everything about you and what your intentions. I'm going to the game on Friday. That guy won't be going to the polls. Get a ballot form. Vote it. There it is right there, folks. There it is right there. See the steal. Do something about it. Americans can be retarded. Caitlin Bennett, on the ground reporter who goes out and does a lot of just interviewing people, goes around and she's asking people about these quotes about Iran, because that's the new thing, right? Trump and this war of choice in Iran. And this is ticking people off on the right too. Like, Trump said we wouldn't have any war. Did he say that he wouldn't fix the election system? I'm pretty sure Iran is directly implicated in that. On top of the fact that they shouldn't have a nuke. Okay? There's multiple reasons why we should tear the out of Iran and Venezuela and Cuba and North Korea and China and Russia too, and get in on the action. Okay? She goes out and does a public little thing with men on the street, and she reads quotes exclusively from Hillary Clinton, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, and Democrats about Iran. Now, keep in mind, the word on the street is Trump is a hater. He's a Nazi. He's a warmonger. He's just hates people of color. And this stems all the way back to the neo-Nazi rally in Charlottesville, paid for by the SPLC. These are the same people who bought into that hoax, now buy into the hoax that this is a war of choice by Trump.
Iran is a destabilizing, dangerous force in the Middle East. Do you agree with him on that at least?
No.
We would be able to totally obliterate them. That's a terrible thing to say, but those people who run Iran need to understand that. What do you think he meant by saying those people?
White supremacy.
His subhuman people of color.
He's becoming very delusional and honestly showing a little bit of signs of dementia.
This is something someone with dementia would say.
Absolutely.
Had Kamala actually won the election, you think we would even be in this?
Absolutely not.
And they were not falling for this Iran stuff either.
No.
If Hillary Clinton had just won in the first place, maybe we wouldn't be in this mess.
Yeah, I would go with that.
If he had a kind soul, I think anyone can be beautiful, but he is not beautiful. He's not beautiful inside or out. He's a horrible person.
Did you vote for Hillary Clinton?
Yes.
Did you guys vote for Hillary Clinton?
Yeah.
We would not be in this position if she were president today.
Or Kamala. The man truly is insane.
Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris said all of that, not Donald Trump.
Really?
Yes.
That makes me very sad.
Are you serious or not?
Yes, they are.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
They can't win in a fair fight. They can't win in a fair fight. Their constituents, they just feed them slop. I hate it when I hear MAGA influencers, Kyle Serafim, MAGA just heats up the slop. Shut up. Go after the real targets here.
Gotcha. Good for you.
You never heard them say this stuff?
No, I haven't.
That was a quote from 2008, right here.
To it. I don't, you know what? Who can believe what we read?
Did you go to the cops about it?
Who can believe what we read?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to see if you needed a permit.
I didn't mean to make you cry.
Trying, but it's shameful.
What's shameful about it? There's nothing.
That's called cognitive dissonance. She's the first lady. What? No, what? Trump's a hater. She finds out it's Hillary Clinton, Kamala Harris saying that about Iran. What you're doing is shameful. Oh, putting your shame in your face? That's called cognitive dissonance. When people realize that they've been lied to all along and are being lied to currently,
They can't face it.
they can't face it. Absolutely cannot face it. Because she's the asshole. She's the one projecting her hate onto anybody but herself. She cannot look in the mirror. Listen, I had to look in the mirror when I got indicted. Am I being fooled by the orange man?
Right.
I went back we stopped the podcast. I was like, okay, am I in the echo chamber? Am I not seeing the other side?
Mm-hmm.
Am I not doing what I was taught by my dad to do, to try to see both issues and develop your own opinion? And I came to the conclusion the election was stolen.
Mm-hmm.
And I came to the conclusion that Trump has been targeted. And I came to the conclusion that, there were fine people on both sides of the Charlottesville hoax. I go to the source. I go to the best source material I can, right? The right report. And it's like, judge for yourself, man. Judge for yourself. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. But then you got to be steadfast in your resolve. And you have to understand, man, this is war. As Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. Okay? It's not like Trump is not a king. If he was a king, he would have dealt with this in his first term. He's limited. He has political limitations, right? If he pisses off the wrong people, you got a bunch of Republicans on the payroll, and he pisses them off, they'll impeach him, just remove him. And what remedy is there for that? There's no remedy for that. So he's got to play the game. He's got to stay standing. But yet people just, he's not doing enough. He's not doing it fast enough. Oh, he said we wouldn't go to war overseas. No, but he did say he was going to clean up the elections. He did say he was going to drain the swamp. And did you know that the swamp is being filled by foreigners and foreign nationals and foreign money? And it's fueled, obviously, by domestic interests that freaking must hate America. Okay. Now, this Iran thing is interesting. Trump gave him a deadline, said if they don't get negotiation going and come to a deal, he was going to start bombing. Jesse Waters reported last night, things have changed a little bit. Turns out the IRGC, the Ayatollah, they're fractured. There isn't a clear leadership group in Iran. So one group says we want to make a deal. The other deal says over our dead bodies.
Power plant day could now be any day of the week. A fierce power struggle breaking out in Iran. And President Trump showing a lot of patience. 47 says U.S. airstrikes have seriously fractured the regime. So Pakistan asked us to hold off on BNP Day until Iran can get it together. Tonight, there could be a coup. No one knows who's calling the shots. Vance, Witkoff, and Kushner were supposed to leave for Islamabad, but they never took off because the Iranian delegation never took off, which is suspicious because this morning, Trump said the gay Ayatollah authorized the deal.
They just got the okay to go forward, which I knew they were going to do anyway. I mean, I don't think they had a choice. They have to negotiate. And, the one thing I'll say is this: Iran can get themselves on a very good footing if they make a deal. They can make themselves into a strong nation again, a wonderful nation again. They have incredible people. But they seem to be, bloodthirsty.
So the gay Ayatollah told his ministers wheels up, but the military said not so fast. We're basically looking at another Iranian hostage crisis. This time, they've taken themselves hostage, and therefore the negotiations. The IRGC won't agree to sign over the Strait and the uranium, and they're the only votes that matter because they're the ones with the guns. The generals are demanding Trump lift the blockade as a precondition for more peace talks. They want to play an economic game of chicken.
Iran sees this as a game of endurance. They believe that time is on their side and that ultimately the domestic pressure when it comes to energy markets and the stock market will force President Trump to make a deal that's in their favor. That is not the truth. That is not the reality. The president and his counterparts in Israel have the ability to continue this operation for months if they need to.
It's the Iranians up against the clock. The blockade's already cost them over $1 billion. Checks are bouncing, and their economy's in a death spiral.
In the local, you've got police officers and others that are getting messages out saying, hey, we're not getting paid. So how long are these guns going to stay turned on their people before they turn inward? Now, this is, again, Iran is a bad actor in all of this. They the IRGC took fire on ships in Hormuz yesterday, thus violating the, quote, ceasefire. Again, who's in charge? Who's in charge?
3 cargo ships have been reported been hit by Iranian gunfires in those small little fast boats in the Strait of Hormuz, and it happened this morning.
Meanwhile, President Trump has extended his ceasefire deadline, citing a fractured regime. And Matt Finn is live in Islamabad, Pakistan, with the latest for us. Hey, Matt.
Hi, Ainsley. There is supposed to be a ceasefire, but we are getting these reports of 3 separate ships attacked in the Strait of Hormuz this morning. The third cargo ship, the most recent, reportedly has been attacked while attempting to transit the strait. It may have a Panama flag on it. And earlier, the British military reported one of its ships was attacked as well. We don't have the confirmed attacker, but, Iran is suspected here.
3 cargo ships have been reported.
Yeah. We don't have a confirmed attacker. There's only one group attacking out there. Now, maybe they're being paid by some bad. Maybe SPLC is out there paying them to attack the ships. So one of the other things the IRGC through their propaganda outlets was pushing was that a bunch of Iranian ships got through. That got debunked yesterday. No Iranian ships.
President Trump posting moments ago on Truth Social. Based on the fact that the government of Iran is seriously fractured, not unexpectedly so, and upon the request of the Field Marshal and Prime Minister of Pakistan, we have been asked to hold our attack on the country of Iran until such time as their leaders and representatives can come up with a unified proposal. I have therefore directed our military to continue the blockade and in all other respects remain ready and able, and will therefore extend the ceasefire until such a time as their proposal is submitted and discussions are concluded one way or another. So for now, an extension to the ceasefire.
So Iran is just sitting, waiting, and we're just sitting, waiting. We're just going to continue the blockade. And the blockade is working, right? Now, not everything's getting through. Obviously, some ships got fired on. I'm sure Lloyd's of London's really happy about that. But the idea that ships are getting through for Iran, they're being stopped dead in their tracks.
Trey, could you give me an idea? Are we letting ships through? Because we're seeing different reports. First, nobody's getting through. Then we boarded a ship that tried to get through. Do you have any reporting that talks about what's really happening in the Strait?
Yeah, the United States is allowing any vessels who are passing through this area to make their way to their final destination as long as they're not coming from Iranian ports. There were some reports overnight indicating that 26 vessels from Iran's shadow fleet were able to make it past the U.S. blockade. There is no evidence of that. And despite what one Democratic senator talked about, there is a concerted effort by the United States to ensure that any vessels that are coming from Iranian ports are turned around or seized, as we saw with that one cargo ship over the weekend.
So, Trey, that was just Iranian propaganda, right?
Yes, absolutely. And the shadow fleet that the senator is talking about is used to directly fund Iranian proxies across the Middle East, including Hamas, the Houthis, and Hezbollah, who are directly responsible for killing U.S. citizens. And so the shadow fleet is a very serious problem. It is not getting past the U.S. blockade, according to all reports and information that we have from the region. But it is a very serious issue that the U.S. Navy says they will crack down on, not just in the Persian Gulf, but also around the world, including in the Indo-Pacific.
So the blockade is on. And remember, we have oil in America. Trump lined this up. You don't think this guy plays 5D chess? This guy's playing 3D chess. It's multiple layered chess. Comes into office, drill baby drill, get things online. New refinery in Texas, takes over Venezuela. We now have control of their oil. He tells the world, come buy oil from us. We can make up the difference. Okay. So that blocks them out. They've got 2 to 3 weeks of ability to store oil. Then they shut off those pumps. Once they shut off the pumps, they backfill and they become very difficult to start back over again. So that they're up against a clock if they ever want to sell oil again in any kind of near term. They're also getting starved out. Supplies. I know there's blockades on the roads and things like that. And obviously their ships aren't getting through. China's still trying to supply them with weapons. That's a problem. China's a dog we don't want to fight. We want to put them in the kennel. Okay. And so all of this is happening right now. The dominoes have been lined up. SPLC falling. That's a big deal.
It's huge.
It's a huge deal. Now it's just a matter of getting these lazy senators to pass the Save America Act. I hope the Supreme Court in Virginia acts. If not, do something, DOJ.
Calling them lazy is being very nice.
I have a hard time believing that the ODNI, Tulsi Gabbard, knowing what they know about the machines, wasn't monitoring that election. Knowing what they know about the ballots, wasn't monitoring things. There's got to be something they can do. Something they can do. Some revelation. I mean, up till now, they've just kind of let these political processes play out. And I get it. You know, you look at the man on the street interviews that Caitlin Bennett was doing. They're trying to prevent those angry haters from going and shooting everybody up, apparently. You know, when they realize they've been lied to, they won't believe they've been lied to. It's easier to fool a man to convince him he's been fooled. Mark Twain said that, right? Samuel Clement, if you really want to know his real name. So this is absolutely, yesterday was a big deal. And this show, we could go on and on and on. Now, we need to jam in some private broadcast. And so we are going to jump over into private. For all the people listening on X, please join us on Rumble. We would love to have you over there. Please come and subscribe. The listeners on YouTube, same thing. Come jump over into Rumble and subscribe. Become a premium subscriber to Rumble. Rumble is a good place. Rumble is where we can talk. We don't get shadow banned. Well, we might be shadow banned.
So far.
Yeah, so we don't know if we're shadow banned. We're not growing like we should be. I put out more content than some of the big heavy hitters out there. I mean, we're approaching like we're approaching like InfoWars broadcast time here. Okay, you got a long show to watch, and I appreciate all of you that watch it from beginning to end. I see in the numbers. I see how consistent our audience is. I see the growth, and I see when we get new people, you stick around. I really appreciate that. I'm very happy to hear that. I'm glad you're here to hear the peasant's perspective. We're all peasants. We have to live in this planet. We have to live here no matter who's in charge.
We share this place.
It matters, right? Please get involved. Take action. I hope this show is not a rage show, right? This is not a doom show where we can't fix anything. Pay me money. No, there are solutions. You can take over your private economy. You can get involved in the political process. Go get involved in your local county Republican Party, presumably. Even if you want to get involved in the Democrat Party, go take it over. Inject some common sense. Right. And of course, we've got our promotion going on with we've got our promotion going on with the Rumble wallet. We accept tips. You can click on the link in Rumble, and we would love to have you put tips in between now and May 9th. So it'll have been 1 month. We're going to take the total amount of tips and we're going to add it up, and 10% is going to get rebated back to the top tipper. So please, we'd love to have you support the show that direction. Use the Rumble wallet. You can transfer money in there from any crypto wallet if you want to. Not money, crypto. You can transfer money in there from any crypto wallet. Just figure that out. And it'll be a great introduction for you into cryptocurrencies.
Do we need to run an ad?
Yep, let's run one ad. Let's just do it.
Yeah, right here at the
Stick around. I'm going to tell you what we're going to be talking about in private. It's interesting stuff.
Okay, so they can cancel. Oh no, what happened? Oh no.
No?
I think it. Oh shoot! I think I messed it up.
Okay, I guess we're not doing an ad. You gotta wait 15 minutes. They're gonna throw that one out.
Yeah.
Okay, so on our private side for subscription only, we're going to be talking about an undercover video that James O'Keefe released yesterday of a U.S. nuclear chief who was escorted out of the Pentagon. They had an undercover video where he goes on one of these dates with someone who got a dating app, and he's like, "Here's where the codes are stored. We can do this. This is where the nuclear weapons are. And are you a spy? No. Oh, I mean, your eyes just entrap me. This is how spies do it. They get people to fall in love with someone.
Where'd you guys get those wigs? Dude, we need a source.
These guys with top secret clearances, they're like, don't tell your wife, but your mistress, that's open game. You know what I mean? Like, these guys are just insane. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about Ilhan Omar, who had a very nasty encounter with a Lindell TV reporter with regards to her fraud. And you've got to watch the look on her face. You've got to see the look on her face. Okay. This woman is up against the wall. You've got Congressman Eric Burleson, who confirms that there's a UFO that is so big that the Army couldn't move it. They built a base around it.
Oh, geez.
They built a base around it. Okay. We're going to talk about Bitcoin because yesterday Russia authorized Bitcoin for people to use for transactions and whatnot, which again, getting around sanctions, specifically for international transactions. We're going to hear from the Fed chair, Jim Walsh, who had a hearing yesterday. We're going to be talking a little bit also about some of the big moves in Bitcoin. Bitcoin right now, in this last week, it's gone up a lot. And again, it's sitting trading right now at just shy of $79,000.
Dang it.
Yeah, just shy of $79,000. It's been climbing a lot. If you're not involved in Bitcoin, you need to. Great reason to get your Rumble wallet. Of course, you can use River. I'm going to go ahead and drop that in the chats. Wow. You can go look at yesterday's link for a River link. But go to, I don't know, I'll do it.
I could throw it in there.
Do you have it from yesterday? Yeah, put it in there. So please use the River link. It's the easiest, best way to get Bitcoin purchased. It's an excellent custodian. You ultimately want to take self-custody, but you got to get your fiat into Bitcoin. and they have a 1-to-1 ratio. They don't hypothecate the Bitcoin. They're one of the best. So river.com, and there's an invite link right there in the chats. Please use it. I get nothing. I mean, it's like, I get nothing for, I mean, it's like a couple of pennies or whatever. I mean, it's not much, but that's my referral link. And I'd love to have you get involved with that. It's a big deal. We're going to be talking a little bit more about Bitcoin in the private. There's some significant things happening with the Clarity Act. And yesterday, JP Morgan Chase will now accept Bitcoin as collateral for loans. We're going to move away from a world where you can go get unsecured loans. It's going to be a world where they want you to put up some collateral. Go read the book, Richest Man in Babylon. This is an important principle for lending. Okay, guys, we will talk to you in the private.